Tony Lombardi with Russell Street Report. I'm here with our capologist, Brian McFarland. Brian, welcome in.
Thanks for having me, Tony.
Hey, I listened to and watched Eric DeCosta's press conference via Zoom yesterday, and he had a quote that I thought was pretty interesting regarding Brandon Williams, and I'll read it. It said, "We don't know what the cap is going to be, although we did just find out it's 182.5 million. But it's so hard to say anything definitively about Brandon Williams. Brandon played good football this year. He's a valued player on the team. It's hard to find guys like him. He fits our mentality. He's still relatively," and he stopped and said, "as a nose tackle, these guys can play for a long time. He plays hard. He plays well. He's one of us. He's a Raven through and through. So yes, I expect him to be on the team." Now, Brian, reading the tea leaves there, when he stressed the guys that play his position can play for a long time, I immediately thought, if he wants to create some cap space, he can extend Brandon Williams instead of cutting him and saving $7.5 million. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I've been in that camp all along. I think the Ravens value Brandon Williams way more than a lot of fans do. A lot of fans don't like that high cap number, but you got to remember that cap number is that high because of the restructures they've done with him 3 times. So his cash actually is $7.5 million, which for the player he is, I don't think is too terrible, even in this down cap year. So extending him, taking that $7.5 million, stretching it out over, I don't know, add 2 years to it, I think is probably at his age makes a lot of sense. You can take that $7.5 million. You got to give him a little. He did take a $3 million pay cut in his last restructure, so fans got to keep that in mind as well. But so I don't know if this would be. I don't know if you go to that well again and ask him to take a pay cut, but I think you can, take that $7.5 million, give him a bonus of that, and spread that out over 3 years, so that counts 2.5 each year. Give him $1 million. The minimum salary for him is it's just a little over $1 million. So you take that, and that basically would drop his cap number almost $4 million. So that's a nice cap savings right there. Plus you secure the player for 2 additional years. To make it worth it to him, you're giving him an extra $1 million. And then you can guarantee some of his base salary next year. So that gives him some security, knowing that next year he's unlikely to get cut. He gets to stay here at least 1 more year. The 3rd year, if he's still playing well, you deal with that then, just like you are now, kind of. But I think that's a win-win for both. He gets a little more money than he's due this year. He gets security for next year, and the Ravens get a sizable chunk of cap savings, and you retain your run stuffer who, when he's not in the lineup, it's night and day. So I think that's certainly a win-win. I think that's sort of the direction they're going to go. I mean, obviously DeCosta seemed to indicate that. Now, obviously the devil's in the details. Can they get numbers that both sides agree on and make it work? But I think that's certainly, I think that's ideally the best outcome for everybody.
Okay, so if I had to ask you to give a percentage probability to A, they cut Brandon Williams, save $7.5 million, B, they just leave the contract alone and keep him for the 1 year, or C, they do an extension like you just described?
I would say probably less than this, but I'll go with 20% that he gets cut, and I think that's high. And then it's probably what would that be? 45, 35, 45 that he's extended, 35 that he stays under the number. I'll change that. I'll go 15 that he's cut, 50 that he's extended, and that leaves me with 35 that he stays under the present number. And the cut may be less than that. I don't think they have any intention of cutting him. I think it's way more likely that he stays one way or the other between the other 2.
Yeah, like I said, I think that Eric hinted at him being extended by the fact that he pointed out that position has a lengthy career. So we'll see what happens in the coming days. We've got a few days left until the league year starts on March 17th. Brian, thanks so much for joining us.
Sure, absolutely, Tony. Great talking to you.